The Federation Council chamber was full for the first time in decades. Every species, every representative, every voice wanted to be heard. The Skrull attack had shaken something loose in the careful, orderly civilization. Questions that had been buried under centuries of comfortable peace suddenly demanded answers. Ambassador Velk stood at the center podium, looking older than before but stronger somehow. The attack had changed them. Changed everyone. For 300 years, the Federation has maintained peace through careful management of risk, Velk began. We created perfect systems, perfect safety. We believed this was the highest achievement of civilization. The chamber listened in silence. Then the Skrull attacked. And we learned something terrible. We had become so safe, so comfortable, that we forgot how to defend ourselves. We forgot how to face danger. We forgot. Velk paused, choosing words carefully. We forgot courage. A murmur ran through the assembled delegates. Some looked offended. Others nodded slowly. A honey badger saved this station, Velk continued. A creature from Earth, weighing less than a standard datapad. She fought the Skrull leader without fear, without hesitation, without any consideration for her own safety. Why? Because her family was threatened. That simple truth defeated enemies we could not face. Commander Rith stepped forward to address the council. I propose a joint military training program with humanity. Not to make us warriors, not to create conflict, but to teach us what we have forgotten, how to face fear, how to stand when retreat is easier, how to protect what matters. You want to train Federation forces using human methods? A council member asked skeptically. They are from a death world. Their methods are violent, chaotic, dangerous. Their methods work, Rith replied bluntly. 2 humans and 1 honey badger held off 8 Skrull warriors long enough for my forces to arrive. That's not chaos. That's courage combined with skill. We need to learn both. Scholar Finn stood, nervous but determined. I support this proposal. My research shows that humanity's partnership with Earth's predators has given them unique insights into confronting danger. They don't avoid threats. They prepare for them. This mindset, combined with our technology and organization, could make the Federation truly secure for the first time. I have an addition to the proposal, Ambassador Velk said, a cultural exchange program. Let humans teach us about their bond with other species. Show us how they live with danger instead of hiding from it. Perhaps we can learn to reclaim the courage we sacrificed for safety. Captain Hana was invited to speak. She walked to the podium calmly, very aware that she was addressing beings who had ruled the galaxy for centuries, while humanity was still learning to leave its own solar system. The Federation honors us with these proposals, she said. Humanity would be proud to share what we know. But I want to be clear about something. We're not better than you. We're just different. We survived on a hard world, so we learned hard lessons. That doesn't make us superior. It makes us experienced in one specific type of challenge. She gestured to the council. You built something humanity can barely imagine. A civilization spanning thousands of worlds, living in peace for centuries. That takes wisdom we don't possess. So maybe this isn't about us teaching you. Maybe it's about both species learning from each other. The council voted. The proposal passed unanimously. Humanity would join the Federation not as junior members but as partners, teachers of courage, students of civilization. The first training session was held 2 weeks later. Commander Reth had selected volunteers from across the Federation. They gathered in a large training facility, representatives of 24 species, all nervous about what would happen next. Lieutenant Mirai stood before them in training gear, looking relaxed despite the pressure. Beside her, Dr. Dury held Bomi. The honey badger surveyed the gathered aliens with her usual lack of concern. Most of you have spent your lives avoiding danger, Mirai began. That's smart. Survival often means knowing when to retreat. But there are moments when retreat isn't an option, when you must stand and face something that terrifies you. Those moments define who you are. She nodded to Dr. Dury. He set Bomi down and activated a combat training robot. It was huge, designed to simulate various threats. It powered up with mechanical sounds and red lights. Most of the watching aliens took a step backward automatically. Bomi looked at the robot. She didn't retreat. She didn't attack either. She simply stood her ground, watching it carefully. The robot advanced. Bomi held position. When the robot got within 2 meters, she rose up on her hind legs and released a warning growl. The robot stopped. Its programming recognized the aggressive display. It recalculated threat levels. Then, remarkably, it backed away. Size didn't matter there, Dr. Dury explained to the watching trainees. Bomi is much smaller than the robot, but she refused to show fear. She claimed her space and defended it. The robot's programming interpreted that as genuine threat and responded accordingly. Many threats work the same way. Lieutenant Mirai added, they push until they meet resistance. If you retreat, they keep pushing. But if you stand firm, if you show you won't back down, sometimes that's enough. Not always, but often enough that it's worth learning. The training continued for hours. Mirai taught basic combat principles, but more importantly, she taught mindset. How to control fear instead of being controlled by it. How to assess real threats versus perceived dangers. How to decide when to fight and when to flee. Bomi became an unofficial assistant trainer. Her complete lack of fear made her the perfect demonstration. Dr. Dury set up various challenges, and she faced each one with the same calm determination. The watching aliens began to understand. Courage wasn't about being unafraid. It was about acting despite fear. One of the trainees, a small aquatic being, similar to Scholar Finn, approached Bomi nervously after a session. May I try to do what you did in the demonstration? Dr. Dury smiled and activated the robot again. The trainee stood before it, trembling visibly. The robot advanced. Every instinct screamed at the small alien to run, but they thought of Bomi. They thought of the humans who had stood between the Skrull and the Council. They held their ground. The robot stopped. The trainee had done it. They had faced their fear, and the fear had blinked first. The watching trainees erupted in cheers. It was a small victory, but it was a beginning. Scholar Finn documented everything. His reports went to universities across the Federation. Interest exploded. Other stations requested similar programs. Within a month, humanity was training defensive forces on 17 different worlds. But the cultural exchange program was equally important. Dr. Dury gave lectures on Earth's evolutionary history. He explained how predators and prey evolved together, how humanity learned to partner with both. He showed recordings of dogs herding, sheep, cats hunting alongside farmers, horses carrying humans across continents. And always Bomi was there. Living proof that fierce creatures could also be gentle. That dangerous didn't mean uncontrollable. That respect mattered more than dominance. Ambassador Velk visited the Dawn's Hope one evening. Captain Hana received the ambassador in the ship's common room. Bomi was curled up on her favorite blanket, half asleep. I came to thank you, Velk said quietly, and to admit I was wrong about almost everything. You weren't wrong, Captain Hana replied. You built a peaceful civilization. That's an achievement humanity can't match. We built a comfortable civilization, Velk corrected gently. Comfort and peace are not the same thing. True peace requires the strength to defend it. We forgot that. Your honey badger reminded us. Bomi yawned and stretched, completely oblivious to her galaxy-changing importance. She doesn't understand what she represents, Dr. Dury said, joining the conversation. To her, she just did what came naturally. Protect family, face threats, keep going no matter what. That simplicity is what makes it so powerful, Velk observed. We complicated courage, made it heroic and therefore rare. You showed us it's just a choice anyone can make. 3 months after the Skrull attack, the Federation Council held a special ceremony. Captain Hana, Lieutenant Mirai, and Dr. Dury were officially recognized as Federation citizens with full rights and honors. More importantly, humanity was invited to join the Council as equal members. Commander Rith presented Bomi with a special collar, made from the finest materials the Federation could produce. It was designed to be comfortable but durable, befitting a warrior. Dr. Dury helped put it on. Bomi tolerated the fuss for exactly 30 seconds before trying to scratch it off. The assembled crowd laughed. Even Ambassador Velk smiled. This creature had saved their civilization and couldn't care less about honors or recognition. She just wanted to be comfortable and close to her family. Perhaps that's the final lesson, Scholar Finn said softly to Captain Hana. True courage doesn't seek recognition. It just acts when action is needed. The ceremony ended with a surprise. Young aliens from across the Federation had written messages to Bomi. Thousands of them. They called her brave. They called her inspiring. They called her a hero. Dr. Dury read some aloud, his voice thick with emotion. Children who had been afraid of everything now wanted to be like the honey badger. Stand firm, face fears, protect what matters. She's changing the galaxy, he whispered to Captain Hana. The alert siren started during breakfast. Captain Hana dropped her coffee and ran for the bridge before the liquid hit the floor. Behind her, Lieutenant Mirai grabbed her weapons and followed without a word. They had trained for this moment. They just never expected it to happen. Report, Captain Hana demanded, sliding into her command chair. Multiple hostile vessels just dropped out of jump space, the communications officer replied, hands flying over controls. Federation Station 7 is under attack. The Skrull are here. The Skrull? Even humans new to galactic civilization had heard the stories. Raiders from the outer darkness. Pirates who took what they wanted and destroyed what they couldn't carry. They were huge, brutally strong, and completely without mercy. The Federation's peaceful species feared them above all else. Station security is engaging, Lieutenant Mirai reported, watching tactical displays. But they're getting pushed back. The Skrull have breached sections 4 through 7. Captain Hana's jaw tightened. Dr. Dury was on the station. He had taken Bomi to meet Scholar Finn that morning. They were in the diplomatic section, right where the Skrull were heading. Get me Ambassador Velk, she ordered. The ambassador's face appeared on screen, pale with fear. Behind them, alarms wailed. Captain Hana, the Skrull are attacking the council chambers. They want the artifact vault. We're evacuating, but where's Dr. Dury? Captain Hana interrupted. The research wing. But Captain, you cannot reach him. The corridors are filled with Skrull warriors. Station security is barely holding the line. Watch me, Captain Hana said grimly. She cut the connection and turned to her crew. Mirai, you're with me. Full combat gear. We're getting our people back. Lieutenant Mirai grinned, the expression of someone who had been waiting for action. Finally. In the research wing, Dr. Dury heard the alarms and immediately understood. He had been in enough dangerous situations to recognize the sound of real trouble. Scholar Finn was frozen in terror. We need to leave, Dr. Dury said calmly, picking up Bomi. Now. The Skrull, Finn whispered. If they're here, we're dead. They kill everyone. Take everything. Not today, Dr. Dury said firmly. He moved toward the door but stopped when he heard heavy footsteps in the corridor. Multiple heavy footsteps. Coming closer, the council chamber was chaos. Ambassador Velk tried to maintain order, but most delegates were simply panicking. They had lived their entire lives in peace. Violence was something that happened in history books, not in front of them. The main doors exploded inward. Smoke filled the chamber. Through it came the Skrull. They were massive, 3 meters tall, covered in thick armor plates that might have been skin or might have been metal. Their faces were brutal, dominated by sharp teeth and eyes that held no compassion. The leader stepped forward, and the floor shook under his weight. I am Grask, the leader announced in broken but understandable common tongue. You have treasures. Give them. Live. Resist. Die. Simple. Ambassador Velk stepped forward with remarkable courage. The Federation does not negotiate with pirates. Security forces are... Grask laughed, a sound like rocks grinding together. Your security run away. Your weapons weak. Your people soft. Always soft. We take what we want. That's when Captain Hana and Lieutenant Mirai arrived. They came through a side entrance, moving fast and low. Mirai's training showed in every step. She assessed the situation instantly. 8 Skrull warriors, civilians in the crossfire, bad angles for a fight. But sometimes you fight anyway. Federation delegates, get behind us, Captain Hana ordered, her voice cutting through the panic. She held a plasma rifle steady despite the weight. Now, the delegates scrambled to obey. Something in Captain Hana's tone made them believe she could protect them. Grask turned to face the humans, amused. Small creatures, he rumbled. From new species. You think to fight Skrull? We think to defend people who can't defend themselves, Lieutenant Mireille replied, falling into a combat stance. Leave now. Last warning. Grask laughed again and gestured to his warriors. 3 of them moved forward, confident in their size and strength. They had crushed countless civilizations. What could 2 small humans possibly do? They found out quickly. Lieutenant Mireille moved like water, using the Skrull's size against them. She dodged a massive fist, struck at a knee joint, rolled under a grab. Her combat knife found gaps in armor. She didn't try to match their strength. She didn't need to. She was faster, better trained, and absolutely willing to do whatever it took. Captain Hana provided cover fire, her shots precise and calculated. She aimed for weak points, for sensors, for joints. The Skrull were tough, but nothing was invincible. You just had to find the right spot. But they were still outnumbered, still outweighed. The Skrull pushed forward, adapting to the humans' tactics. Grask watched with growing interest. These small creatures fought well, better than the soft Federation species. This was almost entertaining. Then something small and angry dropped from a ceiling vent. Bomi had heard the fighting. She had followed the sounds through the station's ventilation system, a path Dr. Dury had shown her during their tour. She recognized the voices of her family. They were in danger. She landed directly on Grask's back. The Skrull leader roared in surprise and pain as claws raked across his neck, finding gaps in his armor. He reached back to grab the attacker, but Bomi was already moving, biting, scratching, completely focused on causing maximum damage. The watching delegates gasped. Ambassador Velk's eyes went wide. The Skrull warriors froze, not understanding what they were seeing. Their leader, the mighty Grask who had crushed armies and conquered worlds, was being torn apart by a creature barely bigger than his hand. Grask spun and thrashed, trying to dislodge Bomi. He slammed backward into a wall. Bomi held on. He reached back again, managed to grab her and threw her across the chamber with enormous strength. Bomi hit the floor hard, rolled, and immediately charged back at him. No hesitation. No fear, just pure focused aggression. She was hurt, bleeding from the impact. She didn't care. Her family was in danger. That was all that mattered. What is that thing? One of the Skrull warriors shouted in their own language. It's a honey badger, Lieutenant Mireille said, using the distraction to disable another warrior. From Earth, and she doesn't know how to quit. Bomi attacked Grask's leg, biting deep. The Skrull leader kicked, sending her flying again. Again, she came back. The delegates watched in awe as this tiny creature refused to stop, refused to surrender, refused to show any fear at all. Grask was bleeding from dozens of wounds now. His armor was torn. More importantly, his confidence was shaken. He had faced armies without fear. But this small creature was different. It couldn't be intimidated, couldn't be reasoned with, couldn't be stopped. Commander Rith arrived with Federation security forces. She had been monitoring the situation from the command center, waiting for the right moment. Now she saw it. The Skrull were confused, disrupted, focused on the impossible scene before them. All units, advance, she commanded. Her forces poured into the chamber from multiple entrances. The tide was turning. Grask saw the situation changing. His warriors were injured, disorganized. The small Earth creature had done what entire Federation armies could not. She had made the Skrull doubt themselves. Retreat, he ordered in his own language. His warriors looked shocked. Grask never retreated, but he gestured sharply, and they began falling back. Before leaving, Grask looked at Bomi one more time. The honey badger stood between him and the humans, blood-stained but defiant. Her eyes never left him. Even now, wounded and tiny compared to him, she showed no fear. Grask made a gesture that might have been respect. Small warrior has great spirit, he said in broken common tongue, looking at Dr. Dury, who had just arrived. We remember this. We remember you. Then he was gone, his warriors following. The Skrull retreat was fast and efficient. They left behind damaged equipment and their own injured. They also left behind their reputation for invincibility. Dr. Dury rushed to Bomi. She was limping, favoring her right front leg. Blood matted her fur, but when she saw him, she made a happy grunt and allowed him to pick her up. You crazy, brave, wonderful creature, he whispered, checking her injuries. What were you thinking, attacking something 100 times your size? Bomi licked his face. She wasn't thinking. She never thought about things like size or danger. She just saw her family in trouble and acted. The chamber was silent except for heavy breathing and the sound of medical teams arriving. Then Scholar Finn started laughing. It was a slightly hysterical laugh, but genuine. She didn't fight because she was trained, he said, tears streaming down his green face. She fought because someone threatened her family. That's what I've been trying to explain to the council. That's what makes humans and their companions different. Ambassador Velk approached Captain Hana and Dr. Dury slowly. The ambassador's hands were shaking. You brought a honey badger to first contact, Velk said softly. We thought it was reckless, dangerous, inappropriate. The ambassador looked at Bomi, bloodied but calm in Dr. Dury's arms. We were wrong. You brought courage. You brought the spirit we lost centuries ago. You brought... Velk paused, searching for words. You brought what the galaxy forgot it needed. Commander Rith joined them, her crystalline face reflecting the chamber's emergency lights. Scholar Finn couldn't sleep. For 3 nights since the garden incident, his mind kept spinning with questions. How did such a small creature survive venom that could drop a full-grown Korvac warrior? Why didn't it run from obvious danger? What made humans trust something so unpredictable? On the 4th morning, he sent a formal request to Captain Hana. He wanted to study Bomi properly, not just observe from a distance, but really understand the bond between human and animal. To his surprise and terror, she agreed immediately. Dr. Dury met him at the Dawn's Hope's cargo bay, which had been converted into a research area. The space held various objects, boxes, tubes, balls, and what looked like puzzle containers. Bomi sat in the middle of it all, watching Finn with those dark, intelligent eyes. Thank you for agreeing to this, Finn said nervously, keeping a safe distance. I know it's unusual to ask to study someone's family member. Dr. Dury smiled warmly. Bomi likes attention, and I think it's good for the Federation to understand what Earth life is really like. Not just the danger, but the intelligence behind it. Intelligence, Finn repeated, taking notes. You believe she's intelligent? Not just acting on instinct? Watch, Dr. Dury said simply. He picked up a clear container with a treat inside. The container had a complex locking mechanism with 3 separate latches. He set it down in front of Bomi. Bomi approached the container and sniffed it. She could smell the food inside. She tried biting the container. Too hard, she tried pulling on it. Didn't work. Then she sat back and looked at it from different angles. Finn watched, fascinated, as Bomi methodically tested each latch. First one clicked open, then the second. The third one was trickier, positioned awkwardly. Bomi tried several approaches before figuring out she could use her claws to flip it up. The container opened. She took her treat and walked away satisfied. That's remarkable, Finn breathed. She didn't give up. She experimented until she found the solution. Honey badgers are problem solvers, Dr. Dury explained. In the wild, they need to get into beehives, dig through hard ground, break into protected spaces. If something blocks their way, they figure out how to get past it. They don't have a quit button. No quit button, Finn murmured, writing frantically. That's the key, isn't it? Most prey species evolve strong fear responses. When something is too difficult or dangerous, they retreat. It's survival. But this creature, Bomi evolved in an environment where retreat often meant death anyway, Dr. Dury continued. Better to fight, to push forward, to solve the problem. That mindset is built into every honey badger on Earth. It's not bravery in the way we think of it. It's just how they're wired. Over the next few days, Finn conducted dozens of tests. Bomi's problem-solving skills were consistent. Her persistence was extraordinary. But what fascinated Finn most was her emotional range. One afternoon, Captain Hana visited the research area with Lieutenant Mirai. Bomi immediately went to them, making happy grunting sounds. She rubbed against their legs, clearly pleased to see them. When Dr. Dury sat down, she climbed into his lap and settled there contentedly. She has favorite people, Finn observed. Strong social bonds. Of course, Lieutenant Mirai said, scratching behind Bomi's ears. She knows who her family is. That's why she fought the Viper. Not because it threatened her, but because we were nearby. She was protecting her territory and her people. So her aggression is selective, Finn said thoughtfully. Controlled. She chooses when to be fierce and when to be gentle. Exactly, Dr. Dury confirmed. A lot of people hear about honey badgers being fearless and assume they're just mindlessly aggressive. But that's not true. Bomi can be incredibly gentle when she wants to be. She just won't tolerate threats or challenges. Finn gathered his courage. May I try to touch her? Dr. Dury considered the request. You can try. But you have to let her come to you. Don't reach for her. Sit down and stay calm. If she's comfortable, she'll approach. Finn sat on the floor, his small green body trembling slightly. He held perfectly still. Bomi looked up from Dr. Dury's lap, noticing the new person sitting at her level. She climbed down and walked slowly toward Finn. The scholar barely breathed as Bomi approached. She sniffed his hand carefully, then his arm. Then, to Finn's absolute amazement, she pushed her head against his hand. She wants you to pet her, Dr. Dury said softly. Finn's hand shook as he gently stroked Bomi's fur. It was coarser than he expected, thick and protective. Bomi made a low rumbling sound that might have been contentment. She allowed the petting for almost a minute before wandering off to investigate a box in the corner. Finn looked at his hand in wonder. She trusted me. A predator from a death world trusted me. You respected her space, Captain Hana explained. You didn't try to control her. That's what Bomi responds to, not dominance, respect. That's what humans respond to as well, isn't it? Finn asked, sudden understanding dawning. This is about more than just an animal. This is about your entire philosophy. Lieutenant Mirai nodded. On Earth, humans didn't become the dominant species by being the strongest or fastest. We succeeded because we learned to work with other species. Dogs helped us hunt. Horses carried us across continents. Cats protected our food stores from pests. We built partnerships. But you kept their wildness, Finn said, his mind racing. The Federation has companion animals too. We bred them for obedience, for predictability. You didn't do that. You let them stay themselves. We tried breeding the wildness out, Dr. Dury admitted. Some species we succeeded. Dogs are much calmer than their wolf ancestors, but we learned that complete domestication removes something valuable. The spirit, the independence. So with some species, like honey badgers, we don't even try. We work with what they are, not what we want them to be. Commander Rith arrived during one of the research sessions. She had been watching the reports with growing interest. Now she wanted to see for herself. Scholar Finn's reports are fascinating, she said, her crystalline form reflecting the cargo bay lights. But I need to understand the practical applications. You brought this creature into space. Why? Bomi isn't here for any application, Dr. Dury said firmly. She's here because she's family. But if you're asking what honey badgers teach us, that's a different question. He set up another puzzle for Bomi, this time with multiple false paths and dead ends. Watch how she approaches this. Really watch. Bomi investigated the puzzle. She tried one path. It didn't work. Instead of getting frustrated or giving up, she simply tried another approach. Then another. Each failure just became information. After 7 attempts, she found the solution and claimed her reward. Persistence, Commander Rith said quietly. She doesn't see failure as defeat, just as learning. That's the human spirit too, Captain Hana added. We've failed countless times throughout our history. But we keep trying. We don't give up just because something is hard or dangerous. Maybe that's why we connect so well with honey badgers. We recognize ourselves in them. The Federation hasn't failed in 300 years, Rith said slowly. We eliminated failure by eliminating risk. We created perfect systems, perfect safety, perfect order. And lost something in the process? Lieutenant Mirai suggested gently. Commander Rith didn't answer immediately. She watched Bomi tackle another puzzle. Watched the honey badger's absolute determination. Perhaps, she finally admitted. Finn spent 2 weeks studying Bomi. He measured her venom resistance, her problem-solving abilities, her social behaviors. But his final report to the Federation Council focused on something deeper. Captain Hana was invited to attend the presentation. The council chamber was packed with representatives from across the Federation. They all wanted to hear about the Death World predator that had killed a spiral viper with its bare teeth. Finn stood before them, nervous but determined. My research has revealed something unexpected, he began. This creature, this honey badger, is remarkable not because of her physical abilities. Many species are strong or fast or venomous. Bomi is remarkable because of what she represents. He brought up images of Bomi solving puzzles, playing with Dr. Dury, facing down the viper. The Federation has spent centuries removing danger from our civilization. We've created safe worlds, peaceful societies, controlled environments. This is good. This has brought stability and prosperity. But we've also removed something vital. Challenge, the need to overcome. the partnership between species that requires mutual respect rather than dominance. The council members shifted uncomfortably. Ambassador Velk looked troubled. Humans didn't conquer their dangerous world, Finn continued. They made alliances with it. They learned to stand beside creatures that could kill them, because those same creatures would also protect them. This honey badger doesn't obey Dr. Dury. She chooses to be with him. That choice, that partnership is what makes them strong. He looked directly at the council. We could learn from this, not to make our worlds dangerous again, but to remember that growth comes from challenge. That true strength includes the courage to face uncertainty. The chamber erupted in discussion. Some council members were offended. Others looked thoughtful. Commander Rith sat forward in her seat, nodding slowly. After the presentation, Captain Hana found Finn in a quiet corner. The small alien looked exhausted but satisfied. That took courage. 3 days after the reception, Ambassador Velk sent an invitation. The humans were invited to visit the Harmony Gardens, one of the station's most beautiful areas. It was meant as a peace offering, Captain Hana suspected. A way to smooth over the awkward first meeting. The gardens are perfectly safe, Velk had explained over the communication channel. A peaceful sanctuary where all species can appreciate natural beauty without danger. Perhaps Dr. Dury would like to bring his companion. In a more suitable environment, we might all gain better understanding. Dr. Dury thought it was a good idea. Bomi had been getting restless in the ship's quarters. She needed space to move around, things to explore. The garden sounded perfect. Lieutenant Mireille was less convinced. Gardens on a space station? What kind of plants grow in artificial gravity? The interesting kind, apparently, Captain Hana said. Let's go see. The Harmony Gardens took up an entire section of the station. When the doors opened, the humans stopped and stared. The space was enormous, with a ceiling that showed artificial sky complete with moving clouds. Trees grew in neat rows, their leaves shimmering in colors that didn't exist on Earth. Flowers bloomed in mathematical patterns. Water flowed through channels carved from crystal. Everything was perfect. Too perfect. Nature on Earth was messy, chaotic, beautiful in its randomness. This garden looked like someone had taken nature and organized it until all the wildness was gone. Ambassador Velk waited at the entrance with Scholar Finn. The small green alien still looked nervous around Bomi, but his curiosity was stronger than his fear. He had spent the last 3 days reading everything Earth had sent about honey badgers. Welcome, Velk said, gesturing at the gardens. This sanctuary represents the Federation's commitment to peace and order. Every plant is carefully selected. Every element balanced. It took 50 years to create this harmony. Dr. Dury set Bomi down on the soft grass. She immediately started sniffing, her nose working overtime. So many new smells. Her claws dug into the earth, testing it. Soft, but not too soft. Good digging soil. This is amazing, Dr. Dury said genuinely. The diversity of species here must be incredible. Scholar Finn brightened at the chance to lecture. Oh yes, we have plants from 40 different worlds. Each one selected for compatibility and non-aggressive growth patterns. No thorns, no toxins, no competition. Everything coexists peacefully. No predators either, I assume? Lieutenant Mireille asked. Well, Finn said hesitantly, we do have some controlled exhibits. Creatures that pose minimal risk. Kept in secure habitats for educational purposes. All perfectly safe, of course. They walked along the crystal paths. Bomi trotted beside Dr. Dury, occasionally stopping to dig at something interesting or roll in a patch of particularly nice-smelling flowers. The aliens she passed gave her plenty of space. Your companion seems calmer here, Velk observed. Perhaps the natural environment suits her better than artificial corridors. Bomi likes having space to explore, Dr. Dury agreed. Honey badgers are curious by nature. They investigate everything. Captain Hana was starting to relax. This was going well. Maybe too well. She had learned to distrust situations that went too smoothly. They reached a small pond surrounded by flowering bushes. Scholar Finn pointed excitedly at the water. These aquatic plants are from my homeworld. They produce oxygen through a unique process that Bomi's head snapped up. Her entire posture changed in an instant. The lazy curiosity vanished, replaced by intense focus. Her nose worked rapidly, pulling in a scent the humans couldn't detect. Bomi? Dr. Dury said, recognizing the signs. What is it, girl? The honey badger started moving, following the scent. Her pace increased. Dr. Dury hurried after her, calling her name. She ignored him completely, locked onto whatever she had detected. "Doctor, please control your animal," Velk called out, worried. "She's hunting," Lieutenant Mireille said quietly, jogging alongside the group. Something triggered her prey drive. Bomi reached a decorative bush with purple flowers. Without hesitation, she dove into it, digging and tearing with powerful front claws. Branches broke, dirt flew. Ambassador Velk made a distressed sound. "Stop her! That plant is irreplaceable," Finn squeaked. Dr. Dury reached the bush, trying to pull Bomi out. Then he saw what she was fighting and stepped back quickly. "Everyone get back, now!" Bomi emerged from the ruined bush with something long and writhing in her jaws. It was easily 2 meters long, covered in dark scales with a flat head and fangs that dripped venom. A spiral viper, Finn had called them. One of the safe, controlled exhibits. Except this one clearly wasn't controlled anymore. The viper wrapped around Bomi's body, trying to constrict. Its fangs struck repeatedly, pumping venom into her thick hide. Bomi didn't even slow down. She shook her head violently, powerful neck muscles crushing the viper's spine. The snake's movements became weaker. The watching alien stood frozen in horror. Scholar Finn's mouth hung open. Ambassador Velk had gone very pale. The fight lasted less than 30 seconds. Bomi bit down one final time and the viper went limp. She dropped it at Dr. Dury's feet, then sat back and looked up at him proudly. Her expression was clear. "Look what I caught." "By the void," Velk whispered. "That creature's venom can kill most species in minutes." She was bitten at least a dozen times. Lieutenant Mireille knelt to examine the dead viper while keeping a respectful distance from Bomi. Honey badgers have incredibly thick skin. Venom that would kill us just makes them sleepy for a while. They hunt venomous snakes on Earth all the time. Cobras, vipers, anything that slithers. Dr. Dury checked Bomi carefully. The bite marks were visible, but she seemed completely unconcerned. She was already sniffing around for more interesting things. "How long has that viper been loose?" Captain Hana asked quietly. Scholar Finn looked ashamed.
4 days.
"It escaped during routine habitat maintenance. Station security has been searching, but we couldn't find it. We didn't want to cause panic, so we kept the search quiet." 4 days, Lieutenant Mireille repeated. "With this thing loose in a public garden?" "We thought it would stay in the remote areas," Finn said weakly. "We never imagined. What were the chances someone would bring a predator capable of finding it?" A new voice joined the conversation. The chances were exactly as high as they needed to be. They turned to see a tall, crystalline figure approaching. Commander Rith of the Federation Border Defense. She had been watching from a distance. Now she walked up to Bomi and studied her with professional interest. "I've been reading about your species since you arrived," Rith said to the humans. "I thought the reports were exaggerated. Death world, dangerous gravity, aggressive fauna. Federation analysts love to dramatize." She looked down at Bomi, who was now grooming her claws and ignoring everyone. "I was wrong. This creature saw a threat and eliminated it without hesitation. No fear, no doubt, just action." "She's a honey badger," Dr. Dury said. "It's what they do. They don't really have a fear response like other animals. When they see a problem, they solve it, usually by attacking it until it stops being a problem." Commander Rith's expression was hard to read, but something like respect showed in her crystalline features. "And humans choose to live with these creatures? To bring them on starships?" "Bomi isn't a weapon," Captain Hana said firmly. "She's family. We respect what she is. We don't try to change her nature." "That's exactly what makes it impressive," Rith replied. "You don't control the danger. You partner with it." She turned to Ambassador Velk. "I want to include this incident in my report to the Military Council. The humans haven't just survived on a dangerous world. They've formed alliances with its most formidable creatures." Scholar Finn was still staring at the dead viper, then at Bomi, then back at the viper. "I need to revise everything I thought I understood about predator-prey dynamics. This shouldn't be possible. Her size compared to the viper, the venom concentration, It's possible because she doesn't know it's impossible," Lieutenant Mireille said with a slight smile. "Bomi doesn't think about odds or danger levels. She just does what needs doing." Ambassador Velk looked at the ruined bush, the dead viper, and the completely calm honey badger. "This is not how I expected this day to proceed." "Welcome to working with humans," Captain Hana said dryly. "Things rarely go as expected. We're used to it." Station security arrived to remove the viper's body and file reports. Scholar Finn requested permission to take biological samples from Bomi to study her venom resistance. Dr. Dury agreed. knowing it would help the Federation understand Earth life better. As they walked back through the gardens, Commander Rith fell into step beside Captain Hana. "Your species interests me, Captain. Most civilizations become spacefaring by mastering their environment, controlling every variable. You became spacefaring while still living alongside creatures that could kill you. Maybe that's exactly why we made it to space," Captain Hana replied. "We learned early that you can't control everything. Sometimes you just have to be brave enough to move forward anyway." Commander Rith nodded slowly. The Federation could learn from that philosophy. Behind them, Bomi found a patch of soft dirt and started digging happily. Dr. Dury led her. After saving the gardens from a deadly predator, she had earned the right to make a few holes. Scholar Finn watched her dig with fascination and terror in equal measure. What kind of world creates such? The Dawn's Hope moved through space like a silver needle threading through black cloth. Inside the ship, Captain Hana stood on the bridge and watched Federation Station 7 grow larger on the view screen. Her heart beat faster, but her face stayed calm. This moment would change everything for humanity. First contact with an entire galaxy of alien species. No pressure at all. Behind her, Lieutenant Mirai checked her sidearm for the third time. The security officer never liked walking into unknown situations without a backup plan. Captain Hana smiled slightly. Mirai's caution had saved them more than once. Down in the cargo bay, Dr. Dury scratched behind the ears of a stocky black and white creature. "Bomi." The honey badger looked up at him with dark eyes and grunted softly. She could sense his nervousness. "We're going to meet some new friends today," Dr. Dury said quietly. "Try to make a good impression, okay?" Bomi yawned, showing sharp teeth, then went back to grooming her claws. Dr. Dury laughed. Good impressions were not really Bomi's thing. The station was massive. It made human space stations look like toys. Lights glowed in thousands of windows. Ships from dozens of species docked at the outer rings. Captain Hana had studied the reports, but seeing it in person made her breath catch. Humanity was so new to all of this, so small compared to this ancient civilization. The docking procedure went smoothly. Station control spoke in careful translated words. They sounded formal and distant. Captain Hana responded with equal formality. Both sides were being very polite. Both sides were clearly nervous. The airlock opened with a soft hiss. On the other side, Ambassador Velk waited with an honor guard of station security. Velk was tall and elegant, with pale blue skin and large eyes that seemed to take in everything at once. The ambassador wore flowing robes that shimmered like water. "Captain Hana of Earth," Velk said, voice musical and precise. "Welcome to Federation Station 7. We are honored to host humanity's first diplomatic mission." "The honor is ours, Ambassador," Captain Hana replied. She stepped forward and extended her hand. Velk looked at the hand for a moment, then carefully took it. The ambassador's skin was cool and smooth. "We have prepared a reception in the main diplomatic hall," Velk continued. "The Council is eager to meet you and learn about Earth. We understand your world is quite challenging." "Earth has its moments," Captain Hana said with a slight smile. They walked through wide corridors filled with aliens of every imaginable type. Some were tall, some short. Some had too many limbs, others seemed to float. All of them stopped to stare at the humans. Captain Hana kept her expression friendly but neutral. First impressions mattered. Lieutenant Mirai walked slightly behind and to the left, her eyes constantly scanning for threats, old habits from her Special Forces days. The station security noticed her alertness and seemed to approve. The diplomatic hall was beautiful. The ceiling stretched high overhead, showing a projection of the galaxy slowly rotating. Delegates from dozens of species waited in small groups, all watching the entrance. When Captain Hana entered, the room went quiet. Ambassador Velk began the introductions. Each species representative came forward. They all said variations of the same thing. "Welcome to the Federation. We're curious about your dangerous world. We hope for peaceful cooperation." Captain Hana smiled and shook hands or tentacles or whatever appendage was offered. Everything was going perfectly. Too perfectly. Captain Hana started to relax. That's when Dr. Dury arrived. He walked into the diplomatic hall carrying a travel cage. Inside the cage, Bomi pressed her nose against the bars and sniffed loudly. The xenobiologist had a nervous smile on his face. The room went completely silent. Every alien eye turned to look at the cage. Some of the delegates took a step backward. Ambassador Velk's blue skin went a shade paler. Captain Hana, is that a predator? This is Bomi, Dr. Dury said cheerfully, setting down the cage. She's a honey badger from Earth. I thought the council might like to meet her. Meet it? A small, nervous-looking alien with pale green skin squeaked. That's a Death World predator. Why would you bring it here? Dr. Dury opened the cage. Bomi waddled out, looked around the huge hall, and grunted. She seemed completely unimpressed by the grand architecture and the dozens of alien species staring at her. Bomi is family, Dr. Dury explained gently. On Earth, humans live alongside many species. We've worked with dogs for thousands of years. Cats chose to live with us. Horses carry us. And honey badgers. He paused, watching Bomi sniff at a decorative plant. Honey badgers teach us about courage. Ambassador Velk approached slowly, very slowly. The ambassador extended one long finger toward Bomi. May I? Bomi turned her head, looked at the finger, then at Velk's face. She sniffed once, made a low grumbling sound, and walked away to investigate a table leg. The dismissal was absolute. Several delegates gasped. One started laughing nervously. Ambassador Velk pulled back the finger, looking confused. She's not being rude, Dr. Dury said quickly. Honey badgers they do what they want. They're independent, fearless. Nothing really impresses them much. Fearless, repeated the small green alien. This was Scholar Finn, though the humans didn't know that yet. He pulled out a datapad and started taking notes frantically. A predator with reduced fear response. Fascinating. Horrifying, but fascinating. A security robot rolled into the hall, probably responding to some automatic alert about an unauthorized animal. It approached Bomi, sensors scanning. A red light swept over her body. Bomi stopped investigating the table leg. She turned to face the robot. Her posture changed. The lazy waddle disappeared. Suddenly she looked focused, coiled, dangerous. A low growl rumbled from her throat. The robot continued forward. Bomi rose up on her hind legs, making herself look bigger. The growl got louder. The robot stopped. Bomi, down, Dr. Dury said softly. She ignored him, eyes locked on the robot. Lieutenant Mireille stepped forward and spoke to the delegates. Honey badgers don't back down from threats. Not ever. It doesn't matter how big the threat is. They just don't have that instinct. She paused. It's very human, actually. Ambassador Velk made a gesture and the robot backed away. Bomi watched it go, then dropped back to all fours and resumed sniffing around the hall like nothing had happened. Captain Hana, Ambassador Velk said carefully, perhaps we should discuss the protocols for companions at diplomatic functions. Captain Hana had been watching the whole scene quietly. Now she spoke, her voice calm but firm. Ambassador, if the Federation wants to understand humanity, you need to understand what we value. We don't just live on Earth, we live with Earth. Every species that shares our world, from the smallest dog to the most stubborn honey badger, they're part of who we are, she gestured at Bomi, who had found someone's dropped snack and was eating it with obvious satisfaction. Bomi isn't a weapon. She isn't a pet. She's family. And if the Council wants honest relations with humanity, they need to see all of us, including the parts that don't fit neatly into diplomatic protocols. The room stayed quiet. Ambassador Velk's expression was hard to read. The other delegates whispered among themselves in a dozen different languages. Finally, Velk spoke. I will need to consult with the Council about this irregular situation. In the meantime, perhaps Dr. Dury could keep his companion in your ship's quarters. No, Captain Hana said simply. Bomi stays with us. If that's a problem, we can leave now and contact the Federation when you're ready to meet humanity as we actually are. Lieutenant Mireille tensed, ready for either outcome. Dr. Dury picked up Bomi, who settled into his arms without complaint. Scholar Finn kept taking notes, his hands shaking slightly. Ambassador Velk studied Captain Hana for a long moment. Then, surprisingly, the ambassador's expression softened slightly. You are quite direct for a diplomat, Captain. I'm not a diplomat, Captain Hana replied. I'm an explorer, and I believe in being honest about who we are. Very well, Velk said after another pause. Your companion may remain, but I strongly suggest keeping her away from important equipment and nervous delegates. Dr. Dury smiled with relief. We'll do our best, Ambassador. Though I should warn you, honey badgers are very good at getting into places they're not supposed to be. Of course they are, Ambassador Velk said quietly, looking at Bomi with something between fear and fascination. This is going to be an interesting diplomatic mission. Scholar Finn approached Dr. Dury nervously. Might I possibly study your companion? For scientific purposes? I promise to keep a respectful distance. Bomi would probably enjoy that, Dr. Dury said. She likes attention as long as you don't try to control her. The reception continued, but the mood had shifted. The aliens watched the humans more carefully now, but also with more genuine interest. They weren't just meeting another species anymore. They were meeting something they had never encountered before, a people who brought their wildness with them to the stars. That night, in their assigned quarters, Captain Hana reviewed the day's events with her crew. Lieutenant Mirai thought they had made a bold statement. Dr. Dury worried they had pushed too hard. Captain Hana just smiled and scratched Bomi behind the ears. We showed them the truth, she said. Now we'll see what they do with it. Bomi yawned, completely unconcerned with galactic politics, and curled up on her favorite blanket. Outside their window, the station glowed with